synthetic drugs concocted by la cuisine. So, and they have the gut to say, la caisse pas vide. Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Pagliacci, and the Leader of the MSM, I must tell why la caisse est vide. Number one, the State Bank once at Beacon has been looted, and yesterday itself, we took full cognizance of toxic loads and non-performing loans. Never it happened in the history of Mauritius for State Bank. 4.5 billion rupees vanished in thin air in India. Approximately 4 billion vanished also in Kenya. We need immediate investigation. Mr. Manga, who was arrested yesterday, is possibly, I'm not sure, he's presumed to be innocent, possibly an accomplice. But who are the co-authors and real accomplices? We have to go, we have to lift, the Attorney General is fully aware, in company law, we have to lift the veil of incorporation. Let us look behind the veil. Who are the real people from La Cuisine who have looted State Bank? The team has also looted MIC. More than 40 billion out of the 80 billion squandered or given as freebies to years and years. Your team, worst, has crushed Air Mauritius. Real air crash. The ex-minister of finance, the expert in padanomics, has printed money and prompted both devaluation and depreciation. Some stole also on pack and blister. Some stole also on pack and blister and Molnupiravir. Some stole at the CWA, CEB, or at least tried to do so. Some did a stopover in Switzerland and took a train to go to another country. I don't know if you are aware about this. They stole regarding the tower at the airport. Some stole regarding laying of pipes. In 2015, they took 2 years, don't forget, 2 years to repair Verdun, a few cracks and spent billions. Whereas our dear friend who was then the then Minister of Public Infrastructure took only 1.5 years and spent around 15 billion rupees to make the Verdun Road. They also made us, the public of Mauritius, pay more than 6 billion rupees in their greed to replace Betamax by their cronies. They squandered and grossly mismanaged, not only mismanaged, grossly mismanaged the CSG and the NPF. So, la caisse n'est pas vide, monsieur le leader de l'opposition. Unfortunately, Sharam Naiba. And on that point, very important to say, many people phone me, asking me whether, I don't know, whether there has been an attempt to make a mockery of our beautiful Bhojpuri, and also to make a mockery of one of the most competent ministers in this house. Can you compare, let me tell you, can you compare, I don't want to degrade people, can you compare the ladies who were sitting in this house, who were ministers, some among them, can you compare that with our lady who is the minister? So many scandals. I prefer to stop here, but I just want to show how the looting and squandering has prevented us, possibly, to delay the reforms. But the reform was necessary. It is not only, c'est pas seulement conjoncturel. Le problème est structurel. Évidemment, on a pris la décision. Le Premier ministre et le Deputy Prime Minister et les autres ministres ont pris la décision. Je reviendrai sur ce point tout à l'heure. In a nutshell, today was Music Day. I was attending a number of functions in my constituency. And unfortunately, my colleague Sydney, Honorable Sydney, took that song yesterday, Les salauds ont brûlé le paradis. In fact, during the electoral campaign, I'm not a music composer. I don't know music very well, but I like to listen to music. I reworked on that song. I gave it to one very good friend, Mr. Zul Ramia. Unfortunately, time was not on his side, otherwise he would have reworked on this beautiful song, very telling song, Les salauds ont brûlé le paradis. Some people are angry on the road, I agree. My colleague, Honorable Doriaru, Honorable Chairman, we are in every nook and corner of our constituency. We know some are not happy, and that is why we are taking time to address all these issues, and I have to congratulate the Prime Minister for having set up 2 committees. Now, some people are accusing, blaming the 2 honorables from Resistance Alternative. Now, there is a golden principle in our Westminster model. When you are a minister, or even a junior minister, deputy minister, there is a principle of collective solidarity. You can protest, you can shout, you can discuss. And here I have to commend both the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister for the liberty they gave to all the MPs, all the ministers, all the deputy ministers to discuss, for ministers during the cabinet and for other members during our parliamentarian meetings. This is democracy, this is internal democracy, which is taking place right now. So who tells you that Mr. Ashok Sumo is not arguing? Who tells you that I don't say anything? But we tell it internally. This is a very, very important point. So, and I think I have profound respect for people like Mr. Atma Shantu, Mr. Jack Bislal, Mr. Sadia. They have a right to protest. I did many protests when I was a social activist. This is a fundamental right guaranteed by the Constitution. But I think it is a bit, I'm not here to give any lesson. They have the right, because at times people, they will truncate what you are saying, put it on social media, manipulate. They are experts in manipulation, people in MSM. But notwithstanding the fundamental right to protest, yesterday, Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition asked you for protection. And you did, unlike the bouncer, you did give protection. But can you give protection? I understand that people from the MSM, including the leader of the opposition, and Mr. Padeachi, they intend to go to the protest. Can anybody guarantee them? They are the looters. They are the people who have been looting the country, and they're going to accompany the trade unionists. Yes, trade unionists can. They have this fundamental right guaranteed by our Constitution to protest. But I would advise them not to spoil if ever there is a small protest. And you see how quick the Commissioner of Police gave permission. When I was in the opposition with Mr. Jayan Chelen, we had to rush with my friend Kavi Bokori, the attorney, to court to get permission to do a street protest. But things have changed. We give the people the right to protest. This is the new government. But even these people, they are my friends, they have to see to it that there is law and order. There is a profound respect for law and order. So, when I was on my way, a friend of mine who failed his standard 6 twice, he told me, you see, you are using a lot of big words in the budget, abyss to prosperity. Abyss, what does it mean? Yesterday, this morning, when I was preparing my intervention, I remember what Honorable Patrick Gassavaden said about the hose. He used the word, les trous, but me, I'm more diplomatic, I'm in diplomacy. I will still use the word hose. So you're fortunate, Honorable Patrick Gassavaden, that the leader of the opposition, who was occupying the same position as you are doing, he created 3 or 4 holes. But the guy in my constituency created not 3 holes, many holes, everywhere. Oceans. And the very meaning, the etymology of this word abyss, means it's a big chasm, like a crater, a bottomless hole. So you imagine the daunting task facing the Prime Minister, also as the Minister of Finance, and the Deputy Prime Minister, along with other ministers, Deputy Ministers, and MPs. So it is also important, after explaining the meaning of abyss to our citizens, not for everybody. Also, they asked me, what do we mean by Moody's? My good friends have been using this word a couple of times, many times. Every time it comes back, IMF, World Bank. So we have to take time. This is where I'm inviting my good friends, MPs, ministers, to explain to people the meanings, the functions of all these institutions, whether you take Moody's, which is a rating agency, just like in human rights, we've got rating agencies. We have to explain to them what is the function, what is the role of Moody's, what is the distinction between IMF and World Bank, one looking at structural changes, long-term loans, as opposed to short-term loans. And also we forget, nobody has mentioned that up to now, about the Financial Action Task Force. And anyway, as I told you, my good friend from Constituency number 18 asked me to explain all these concepts. It is important also to remind you that we have a duty to explain to people. At times, I've always, as a professor at the university, complaining to lawyers, they don't take the law to the people. Likewise, economists. My neighbor is a professional economist. My good friend is a teacher of economics. My colleague in my constituency. We have to take time to explain to people about all these concepts. So all these organizations are setting standards. But obviously, these standards are not binding. You know about it. But can you be completely blind to these standards? And this is what yesterday, 2 days back, what the leader of the opposition was trying to convey, that we should not listen to Moody's, to IMF, to World Bank, and to the Financial Action Task Force. I told you my distant cousin failed Standard 6 twice. Doesn't matter, you can fail exams. But the MSM failed 4 times in front of 4 different institutions. So instead of blaming the examiners, blaming the institutions, blaming the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, blaming the junior minister, they should blame themselves. So otherwise, other countries like Argentina, Greece, Sri Lanka, and even South Africa have been downgraded and now qualified as junk states. And what are the consequences of being a junk state? This will certainly lower investment. Already explained by my friend, I'm just trying to put some order in it. Increased borrowing cost, negative impact also on social programs, and even on the pension and infrastructure. Madam Speaker, from 2019 to 2024, our country went through an economic mirage. It's not a miracle as pretended by the ex-government. However, the nature of the illusionary economic miracle was such that it defied the very basic and established concepts of economics and fiscal management. the cooks and crooks of La Cuisine literally cook the books of our country, Madam Speaker. Indeed, their new textbook could have also been entitled Kitchen Macroeconomics. Gives a recipe of how the country's key economic statistics can be exaggerated. You see, the economics, our friends who are economists here can explain. The economics we learned from the books 20 years, 25 years ago is not the same. My son sent me a paper on hedging. It took me 3 days to understand because 90% of mathematics, statistics in that paper. So figures speak for themselves. So this is why I completely disagree with the leader of the opposition when he's telling that government, the Minister of Finance is trying to invent certain figures. Figures come from credible international institutions. So I did not want to, you see, it's my way as an ex-academic, always an academic, once an academic, always an academic, not to mention the names of people. But when I read the interview of Mr. Padeyati, same words, Saram Naiba, he should have been, at least for 1, 2, 3 years, not give any interview. But he dared to give an interview and using very strong words. And I would qualify him as a sort of Arsène Lupin, a gentleman burglar. And why gentleman, Madam Speaker? Because in a way, rumors were afloat that he's a real gentleman also. Real gentleman in the sense that he could give a lot of jobs to a number of models at the FSC, EDB, Bank of Mauritius also. Mr. Damri may be aware of it. He can tell us more about it. So some way, somehow, the gentleman burglar who stole half of your money from your pocket by way of depreciation and devaluation and looted through MIC. So today we have to pay a heavy price. So the economy is in the red, complete red. The blue sea has become red, unfortunately. So coming back to the figures, if you're an economist, national debt, it ballooned from 251 billion to nearly 642 billion. Real GDP growth since 2014, it remained almost stagnant, reflecting a poor management of the economy. Debt to GDP ratio from 60% in 2024, when Dr. Nabil Ramoulam left power, 2040, I'm sorry, to nearly 90% of GDP in 2024. Our rupee, our currency has seen also a free fall against all the major currencies. This is why, Madam Speaker, I use the term kitchen macroeconomics and paranomics. This has brought our country to our knees, on our knees. So, Madam Speaker, I will now shift to my constituency. It is important to understand that in spite of the fact that we had 2 senior ministers in number 13, I used the term last time that in a way, the South has been, in a way, unfortunately, for multiple reasons, les damnés de la terre. They did not do anything. They gave a few jobs, some jobs, but some families got 4 jobs. And others, poor people, don't get any job. So what we have to do, I understand that Mr. Bechu, our minister, very competent minister, has got a good budget. We have to upgrade the Suyac Hospital. We have to upgrade the Medic Clinic of l'Escalier. We have to upgrade the Medic Clinic of Grandbois, which is an empty shell for the time being. It's a shame. At the same time, I know that both Mr. Rajesh Bhagwan and Joanna Béranger Honorable Béranger, are very responsive. But at the same time, I want the allocated budget also to be equitably distributed to the South, especially to number 13. This is very important. And in the same vein, my very good friend, Honorable Ajay Ganesh, has got an important budget in spite of all the constraints. I expect that my constituency get a fair share. I wanted also to comment my dream. It's one of the rare constituencies which does not have a highway. I've been discussing with my colleague, Mr. Jagannath and Mr. Babaji, that we need, not for this budget, not for this year, but before we complete our term, I hope that we get also a highway starting from Bellon-Béducap to Nouvelle-France. This is very, very important, crucial for the country. This is what I call equitable sharing, very important. So I will end with a quotation, Madam Speaker. I wanted also to speak about my ministry, about foreign affairs. We have seen what the Prime Minister has done regarding Diego Garcia. You are seeing what we are doing in terms of our love for Africa. We really love Africa. We love India. We love China. We are a small Switzerland. This is how we do diplomacy. My last quotation as a summary, as a conclusion. Madam Speaker, let me finish with what Sir Siv Sagar Ramgoolam said. And the wisdom of Sir Siv Sagar Ramgoolam should be celebrated and be used to guide us. In spite of the fact that the government of the Jagannath tried to erase the name of Sir Siv Sagar, just like they tried to do for our Prime Minister, Navin Ramgoolam. This is why maybe some people are not aware. He was then Chief Minister and Minister of Finance from 1961 to 1965. He had to present a very difficult budget, like the one being where our actual Prime Minister is facing. This is what he said, I quote, "I know that my budgetary proposals, I should incur unpopularity." This is what Sir Siv Sagar said, "in some quarters. But any other course would have been a shirking of our responsibility as a government. I've put the interest of the country before sectional interest." Savira Samirengadou did the same before, became unpopular, but he saved the country. The Deputy Prime Minister, Paul Béranger, did the same in 1982. He saved the country. This time, I'm pretty sure we will come with corrective measures for the pension scheme. I'm sure about it. The vulnerables would be saved in a way. I'm very sure. But this time, we may be temporarily unpopular, but in the medium term, long term, I'm very sure that we will get back our popularity. So, but also I pledge, in my group, even in this alliance, nobody should betray the country, and nobody should betray number 13. And if this happens, I know what I have to do in my life. So I trust the Prime Minister, I trust the Deputy Prime Minister, I trust all my colleagues that we're going to stay through. We are having a tough time, but we are going to have early harvest, hopefully in 2-3 years' time. Thank you for your attention.
Honourable Babouram. Yes, Honourable Babouram, no?
Madam Speaker, I speak today not just as a member of Parliament representing my constituents, but also as a mother of an 11-year-old daughter whose future depends on the decisions we take in this House. Every policy we pass today doesn't just impact us, it echoes into the lives of the next generation. And if we don't act responsibly, that echo might turn into a cry for help. In a rapidly aging population, that's like asking a school kid to carry her grandmother in a backpack. Strong legs? Maybe. But a broken future? Definitely. Today, it takes 2 working individuals to support the basic retirement pension of 1 retiree. By the time my daughter will be my age, that is, in 29 years from now, she may have to carry the burden of 1 retiree alone. We had to act, not to destroy the welfare state, Madam Speaker, but to save it. Now let's take a detour, just for a moment. A few years ago, my daughter tried selling lemonade outside our home. She charged 10 rupees a cup, but gave away cookies for free. She made a loss of 200 rupees in 30 minutes. Then she told me, "It's called customer loyalty, Mama." I realized then some economic models are just unsustainable, much like the BRP model that we inherited. We had to guarantee the welfare state, and we had to maintain it, to protect it. I have heard the leader of the opposition accusing the very guardian of the welfare state of dismantling it. We are not dismantling the welfare state, Madam Speaker. We are preserving it. A World Bank report after the COVID-19 pandemic referred to Mauritius as one of the most generous countries when it comes to retirement pensions. But generosity without sustainability is like throwing a wedding party using a credit card and hoping no one checks the bill. The report clearly pointed out that over 50% of social spending went to BRP, an amount that's ballooning, poorly targeted, and pushing people to retire early. At page 150, the report says, I quote, "Pension increases over the last few years have routinely exceeded GDP growth and were largely based on political considerations." Political considerations? What about social considerations? There was no sustainability. It did not matter at all what would happen to future generations. The International Monetary Fund, in its 2022 consultation paper, suggested increasing the eligibility age for BRP from 60 to 65 by 2030. Without such action, the pension system would crash definitely, not in theory, but in our children's lifetime. Now, did our Prime Minister announce this measure par gaieté de cœur? Certainly not. It was not a sweet decision, but a surgical one, like diffusing a time bomb with the whole country standing behind you. It takes a true statesman to make such unpopular and necessary choices. I know all my colleagues before me have said this, and this is the truth, in fact. And this brings me, Madam Speaker, to the indomitable Lee Kuan Yew, a man who transformed a tiny, resource-scarce country into a global powerhouse. He made decisions that were often tough and painful, but he was a visionary. He once said, I quote, "If you want to reach your goals and dreams, you cannot do it without discipline." And that's exactly what we must show today. Discipline in governance, discipline in spending, and discipline in facing inconvenient truth. Like him, our Prime Minister has shown the courage to lead, not to please. He had all the reasons, for instance, to request the Commissioner of Police to refuse permission to those protesting against this measure tomorrow. But he did not do this. Instead, He has stood as a true statesman and acted as a true Democrat and allowed people who have a different opinion from his to manifest, to protest tomorrow, going to such an extent that even that Mr. Kokil, who tried to prevent the public gathering, his contract of employment has been terminated. However, a word of caution to those who will participate in the protest tomorrow. Beware of those political prostitutes who are pretending to be virgins. Because don't forget that when the IMF made that report, the World Bank made that report, and those recommendations, they were in government, and they did not take any action. For 6 months, they could not come out in the political arena, and they waited until we made this unpopular decision for them to come out. One Mr. Siraton, former minister, who claimed to be imbattable in constituency number 11, and yet came 5th for the general elections. Recently, he has been commenting on the budgetary measures. I wish to remind him, Madam Speaker, him and his acolytes, that we have stopped celebrating Christmas in June. Santa Claus does not come in June anymore. Santa Claus will come in December for the children who believe in him and not for grown-up adults who are supposed to work for the economy and contribute for the welfare of the country. I read recently a comment on Facebook by one who is not well known, by one Mr. Satyadev Thakur, président de l'Association pour la protection des consommateurs. He said this, I quote, "Ramgoolam prefers to be buried politically than to bury his country." This makes me think of the statement of the leader of the opposition once again, to the effect that some of us are one-off and that we will not be elected again. Madam Speaker, we were elected for a reason, to serve. And if I can achieve this brilliantly, where it is immaterial whether I am elected again or not. I shall stand by our Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister to change the history of this country, to make our children proud, to make the right choice, not for ourselves as selfish individuals, not for ego and fame, because convictions matter. Our privileges don't matter. I did not join politics for pecuniary reasons. I come from a modest background, and I have no shame to go back to where I come, as long as I go back there with dignity and respect, instead of being shameful for having jeopardized the future of our children. One of the criticisms we have heard after the budget speech related to the allowances of the junior ministers, Madam Speaker. There has been much false, amplified noise about allowances for junior ministers. Let me clarify this once and for all. We were not back paid. This is not a salary hike disguised as a gift. It's an administrative correction PPS became junior ministers with added responsibilities and no added fortune. Speaking of responsibility, Madam Speaker, I must say that the junior ministers' posts have never been cosmetic. It is simply a change in name from what used to be called PPS to what is in the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, that is junior ministers. PPS used to be attached to the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, whereas junior ministers are attached to different ministries with accrued responsibilities over and above their functions as representatives of their respective constituencies. When we were appointed as junior ministers on 22nd of November 2024, no provision was made for our salary. This is why it had to come under the budget. We were not back paid. Our salary is still the same. Il y a eu beaucoup de démagogie à ce sujet. However, Madam Speaker, I wish to place on record that a former minister, the same former minister I mentioned, the former Minister Sirotan, member of the MSM, said during a press conference, just for the record, let me set things right, I did not listen to that press conference. Someone sent the extract to me, and I was surprised to learn that he said that our government is being run by junior ministers. This government is being run by all of us sitting here, not only junior ministers. The post of junior minister is provided for by the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, and it took visionary leaders to re-engineer a government by re-establishing the post of junior ministers and appointing those who know the field in which their respective ministry deal with. For instance, Honorable Joanna Béranger's dedication in environmental matters are well known. As chairperson of the MMM Sustainable Development Commission, she has been at the forefront of numerous battles to protect our environment and is now serving as junior minister at the Ministry of Environment. Honorable Jean-Sidney Pierre has had a remarkable career in the tourism industry and hospitality management, and now serves as junior minister at the Ministry of Tourism. Honorable Karen Foucune, who is not here right now, is known for her extensive contribution to the sports sector and now serves as junior minister at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Honorable Fabrice David holds an advanced master's degree in environmental management and sustainable development and is now serving as junior minister at the Ministry of Blue Economy. Honorable Véronique Le Govin has been the former chairperson of Le Monde Heritage Fund and is now serving as junior minister at the Ministry of Arts and Culture. Honorable Kougan Parapen has had 15 years experience in asset management industry and advocated for progressive economic and social reforms, including a more progressive fiscal approach, constitutional reforms, and sustainable economic development. He is now serving as junior minister at the Ministry of Social Security. Honorable Rajan Narsinghan, who has also been my lecturer, has been a trade advisor in Geneva, working as consultant at the World Trade Organization and as consultant in international trade law. He is now serving as junior minister at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Honorable Fawzi Aliman, who has extensively contributed to solving regional and municipal-related issues for years, is now serving as junior minister at the Ministry of Local Government. Honorable Daneshwar Damri, he needs no introduction anymore. He has left his empreinte in the business and financial world before becoming the junior minister of finance. As for me, I have had the privilege and honor of serving as member of the National Human Rights Commission and as advisor at the ministry where I am currently serving as junior minister. Each of us are called to bring our own contribution to our respective ministries alongside our senior ministers for a better Mauritius. This government does not govern by trial and error, Madam Speaker. Our leaders are not amateurs, they are visionaries. Now, let us talk about the allowances of the opposition leader and that of the whip of the opposition. For how many hours do they sit in Parliament? Should their allowances be made proportionate to the number of hours they sit in this Parliament? This should remind us of a famous incident that occurred in this very assembly years ago in 1992, when the then Prime Minister, Sir Anirudh Jagannath, tried to recall Parliament at a time when the then leader of the opposition, Dr. Ramgoolam, could not make it to this place. And he tried to make a motion, just to make a motion to declare his seat vacant. However, the Supreme Court, consisting of a full bench, disallowed this motion, and Dr. Ramgoolam was allowed to act as leader of the opposition until he became the Prime Minister again in 1995. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, you acted as a Democrat and suspended the sitting while the leader of the opposition was taken up in traffic, and he was given ample time to come here and address his P&Q to the Prime Minister. He's even allocated additional time when he complains that he doesn't have enough time for his questions. This is real democracy. We are all proud to sit in this august assembly with you as Speaker. Else, who knows? There could have been a colorable device and the members of the opposition wouldn't have been allowed in Parliament. Let's come back to the budget, Madam Speaker. This budget is focused on creating wealth for the future generations. I have heard previous governments constantly saying that we need to make more children. However, all they gave were allowances so that we could make children. Our government has a more holistic approach to this issue. It's not about money, because money is not the answer to solve demographic issues. Our government believes in fostering a culture of hard work, ensuring a minimum salary of 20,000 rupees per month instead of dependence on monthly allowances. Young people are also exempted from paying income tax. We are modernizing our society through new technologies. We are creating job opportunities, combating the drug scourge, and most important of all, we are making sure that sports is also redynamisé. Before I end my speech, Madam Speaker...
But you will have to end now.
I will end on this note.
30 seconds.
Before I end my speech, Madam Speaker, I must tell you something that has been of particular interest to me in this budget, especially concerning sports. I'm speaking about a feasibility study concerning the construction of a rally circuit for our young rally enthusiasts. I have been invited to attend various prize-giving ceremonies organized by the Motor Racing Club of Mauritius. Being myself a car rally lover, I must tell you that I'm deeply moved by this initiative because I believe that this initiative, should it happen, will not only encourage another type of tourism, but will also reduce road accidents. On this note, Madam Speaker, I thank everyone for their attention, and I will tell you something that Lee Kuan Yew once reminded the world. I always try to be correct, not politically correct. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
It's a good thing I tell everybody that I have been giving 1 minute to each of you. Mr. Aliman, try and keep within the time, please. So it was not just for the leader of the opposition. I'm giving 1 minute to everybody, more or less.
Madame la Présidente, c'est avec un profond sentiment de gratitude que je vous adresse pour ce premier discours sur le budget présenté par notre Premier ministre et ministre des Finances, honorable Dr Navin Chandra Ramgoolam, il y a 2 semaines. D'entrée, je dois dire que c'est un budget courageux, un budget de réparation, mais aussi un budget d'espérance, allant même jusqu'à dire que c'est un budget qui remet les pendules à l'heure. Ce premier discours, Madame la Présidente, est basé sur un principe fondamental, la justice sociale. Permettez-moi de dire que ce budget marque une véritable ère de vérité, de justice sociale et de respect envers chaque sou de la République. En tant que parlementaires, nous avons la responsabilité de réparer une injustice historique faite au petit peuple. Madame la Présidente, ce budget est un message fort au peuple mauricien. Nous sommes un gouvernement qui écoute, qui agit et qui change la donne. Oui, on ne pratique pas une politique d'autruche, on parle avec conviction. Ce budget répond à un constat clair. Le petit peuple a souffert sous les poids des politiques passées. Le coût de la vie avait explosé, rendant le quotidien de nos citoyens de plus en plus difficile. C'est le fruit d'un passé où la gouvernance n'a pas toujours été au service de la majorité. Trop longtemps, l'ancien régime de MSM et ses alliés ont favorisé les plus riches, les clans les plus connectés et ceux qui savaient naviguer dans les couloirs du pouvoir. En tant qu'un élu qui valorise la nation et qui comprend l'engagement que nous avons envers notre mandat, envers la population, on ne veut pas nous empêcher de nous indigner face à certains comportements du passé. Et là, je déplore l'absence du leader de l'opposition, comme à l'accoutumée. Je lui ai entendu dire, lors de son discours, il nous a parlé des voyages que les membres du gouvernement, les ministres, ont fait pendant les 6 mois. Mais j'aurais bien aimé lui rappeler qu'en 2022, après la Covid, alors que tout le monde essayait de reconstruire, il y avait 13 ministres du gouvernement MSM qui se sont rendus pour le Jalsa Dubaï. Et là, il y avait des questions au Parlement par l'honorable Ritesh Ramphal sur les coûts. Ça frôlait les 90 millions qui ont coûté l'État. Et le ministre des Finances avait répondu qu'il y aurait eu un investissement de 4,5 milliards. Aujourd'hui, on pose la question. Que ça 4,5 milliards a été? Ça, c'est la gérance du MSM. Et il ose nous faire la leçon aujourd'hui. Il ose se poser comme les défenseurs. Et là, je dois dire, pendant les 3-4 jours qui viennent passer sur Facebook, ils ont mis un communiqué pour inviter et mobiliser les gens pour aller au Champ de Mars demain. La population a vu le communiqué et ils ont pris un tollé sur Facebook. En catimini, ils ont dit supprimer le communiqué pour remettre un autre communiqué, pour dire qu'il faut mobiliser, mais ce n'est pas eux qui organisent la marche de demain. Si seulement le ridicule pouvait tuer Madame la Présidente. Ce pays Madame la Présidente, a été endetté, vidé, affaibli par des années de dilapidation des fonds publics. Ici, je pense à la MIC. Des contrats gonflés, Packen Blister, Monopiravir, des projets fantômes, Vacua pour Manhattan, des copinages, l'ami d'enfance de l'autre, orchestré par nous savons qui, dans l'hôtel que nous savons déjà. Il nous fallait un budget de vérité. Ceux qui ont mis le pays en feu et à sang devront répondre de leurs actes. Et là, j'ai confiance en notre Premier ministre et le DPM, qui, j'en suis sûr, ne restera pas les bras croisés et iront jusqu'au bout pour faire la lumière sur les détourneurs de fonds. Ce budget n'est pas une fin en soi, mais le début d'un long chemin. Il pose des bases solides, celles de la justice, de l'intégrité et surtout de la solidarité. Nous n'avons pas le droit de nous cacher derrière les mensonges pour embêter le peuple. Nous avons le devoir de leur dire que l'ancien régime de MSM a mis la caisse de l'État à sec. Ces feux parlementaires comme les Akero et les Tomborali de l'époque ont agi comme des piliers de tombes, laissant derrière eux un pays vide, surendetté et dépendant. Nous remettons l'humain à cœur dans nos décisions. Il est temps d'effacer les trahisons du passé et de redonner dignité et fierté à notre nation. Nous ne cherchons pas la revanche ou la critique stérile, mais plutôt la construction d'un avenir meilleur. La véritable force, c'est la capacité à comprendre et à avancer dans l'unité et la solidarité. Notre objectif est de faire de Maurice une île où chacun peut vivre et respirer librement, vivre heureux et prospérer. Nous ne perdons pas notre temps en des critiques destructives des démagogues de la dernière heure qui parlent seulement pour être présents sur la presse. Mais nous orientons nos efforts vers la réalisation de cette vision d'un pays plus juste, plus uni et plus fort. Ce budget 2025-2026 marque un tournant décisif dans la politique économique de Maurice. Il rompt clairement avec l'ancien modèle basé sur la stimulation et la consommation, un modèle qui a été inefficace, insoutenable et qui a creusé nos déséquilibres macroéconomiques. Ce que nous proposons, c'est une nouvelle vision centrée sur l'investissement à l'impact. Nous voulons créer de la richesse durable, réduire notre dépendance aux importations et rééquilibrer nos fondamentaux économiques. Deux mesures fortes illustrent cette volonté. Tout d'abord, 30 milliards de roupies seront investis dans la production d'énergie verte, un pas essentiel vers la transition énergétique et la souveraineté énergétique de notre pays. Cela permettra de réduire significativement notre facture pétrolière et de stimuler une nouvelle filière industrielle. Ensuite, 80 millions de roupies seront alloués à une agriculture durable pour renforcer la sécurité alimentaire et réduire notre dépendance aux importations alimentaires. Ce changement de cap est dicté par un héritage économique lourd. Depuis 10 ans, sous la gestion du MSM, notre pays a accumulé des dettes, vidé des réserves et affaibli son économie. Les importations des produits alimentaires et énergétiques dépassent 100 milliards de roupies chaque année, ce qui vide nos réserves et devises étrangères. Le déficit commercial atteint 200 milliards de roupies, la dette publique est presque 642 milliards et le déficit budgétaire frôle les 10% de la PIB. La dépréciation de la roupie depuis 2014 a dépassé 45%, aggravée par une injection massive des fonds dans l'économie, souvent au bénéfice d'intérêts proches du pouvoir. Tout cela, Madame la Présidente, a entraîné une flambée des prix, une pression énorme sur les ménages et une perte de pouvoir d'achat. La fiscalité a été injuste, favorisant certains au détriment des autres, ce qui a creusé les inégalités et alimenté les ressentiments populaires. Nous avons aussi une responsabilité envers notre planète. Le tri de déchets est un projet crucial pour protéger nos ressources naturelles, réduire la pollution et atténuer l'impact de nos déchets. Plusieurs pays comme l'Allemagne, la Suède ou le Japon ont réussi dans ce domaine. Pourquoi pas Maurice? Ce projet nécessitera environ 1,7 milliard de roupies pour sa première année et pour l'achat des logistiques, des bacs à ordures et pour renforcer nos ressources humaines. Bien que coûteux, ces bénéfices seront immenses. Un environnement plus sain, une meilleure qualité de vie, une santé renforcée pour notre population. Enfin, je souhaite souligner l'état de nos institutions, Madame la Présidente. Plusieurs d'entre elles ont des lourds déficits. Encore une fois, dommage que le leader de l'opposition n'est pas là. Je commencerai par dire aux collectivités locales, nous sommes en 1,7 milliard de déficit. Qu'ont-ils fait avec l'argent? Où sont les projets? Et les déficits dans les fonds de pension. Encore une fois, on n'arrive même pas à croire. La PSEA a un déficit de plus de 9,5 milliards. La MRE, plus de 5 milliards. La MBC, plus de 2 milliards. La Mauritius Cane Industry Authority, plus de 1,5 milliard. Alors même, les chiffres parlent d'elles-mêmes. Et comme je disais, les chiffres montrent l'urgence de redresser nos finances pour garantir un service public efficace, équitable et durable. Notre gouvernement travaille dur pour évoluer notre société. Nous ne sommes pas en train de passer d'un système d'aide basé sur l'assistanat à un système d'autonomisation. Le Premier ministre a dit qu'aucun politicien n'aime prendre des décisions impopulaires, surtout celui qui a promis le changement. Mais il est nécessaire de faire face à la vérité, même si cela peut faire mal, pour bâtir un pays plus fort, plus indépendant et plus fier. Je suis convaincu, Madame la Présidente, qu'à la fin de ce mandat, notre peuple comprendra que notre vision est celle de la nation, qui ne dépend pas des autres, qui se relève grâce à ses propres forces et qui peut être fier de ses réalisations. La patience et la détermination finiront par porter leurs fruits. Et Madame la Présidente, avant de clore, permettez-moi d'évoquer les mots de Molière dans Tartuffe, pièce intemporelle sur la fausse vertu et la vérité dévoilée. Couvre-moi ce sein, je ne saurais voir. Cette réplique prononcée par Tartuffe incarne l'hypocrisie de ceux qui tout en se proclamant vertu, dissimulent leurs vices derrière les beaux discours, comme le leader de l'opposition. De même, ceux qui crient aujourd'hui au scandale, à l'injustice ou à la rigueur budgétaire ne font souvent que masquer leur propre culpabilité, celle d'avoir affaibli notre nation sous le poids du favoritisme, du gaspillage et de l'incompétence. Nous ne tomberons pas dans le piège de ces faux dévots de la politique, de ces Tartuffes modernes, ces charlatans, ces oiseaux de malheur et surtout ces démagogues de la dernière heure qui prêchent l'éthique après avoir trahi le bien commun. Ce gouvernement mené par le PM et le DPM agisse non pas avec des mots enjôleurs, mais avec de l'actes concrets pour redonner notre peuple ce qu'il mérite, la dignité, la justice et l'espérance. Que cette vérité claire, que cette vérité nous éclaire l'avenir et que la République se relève et la nation avance. Je vous remercie.
Merci. C'était un record, hein, en termes de temps. Honorable Woodsheet. Yes, Minister.
Yes. Madam Speaker, today we stand at a remarkable crossroad in our national journey. At a crossroad between the abyss of decline and the promise of prosperity. This budget speech does more than merely outline figures. It charts a course, inspire confidence, and above all, restore hopes. It is a bold commitment to transformation, accountability, and progress. From abyss to prosperity, rebuilding the bridge to the future is not just a title. It is a declaration of intent. It acknowledges the pain of the past while refusing to be paralyzed by it. It dares to imagine a better future and lays a brick of policy and investment to build it. First, Madam Speaker, let me commend the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance for tabling a budget that seeks to strike a balance between the economic growth, social investment, and fiscal prudence. Yet, we cannot move forward without confronting the precarious legacy left by the previous government. A legacy that was threatened the prospect of our children, our elders, and even ourselves. The State of the Economy report, as well as Moody's rating on 31st January 2025, which downgraded Mauritius to Baa3 with a negative outlook, are direct consequences of fiscal deterioration and rising debts under the previous government. The State of the Economy revealed a deliberate and, I would say, criminal manipulation of data by previous government, especially by Dr. Ranganathan Payachi. This was not mere incompetence, but a calculated attempt to create a false sense of economic security, reassuring the population to complacency. The establishment of Maurice strategy under the guise of research and consultation was, in reality, a vehicle for circulating spurious figures, inflating economic indicators, and painting a misleading picture of growth and development. For example, the growth rate for the year 2023 was inflated by 25%, and that for 2024 by 27%. The rupee depreciation would have continued to downgrade had the previous government remained in power. Only the timely intervention of the Bank of Mauritius under this present government prevented a further downward spiral in our currency value. The State of the Economy report underscores a period of economic slowdown marked by declining growth rate, persistent inflation, trade imbalances, and labor market challenges. The previous administration's policies left Mauritius vulnerable, with the illusion of progress making deep-seated structural weaknesses. The new budget directly addresses these issues through necessary structural reform, investment in human capital, and prudent fiscal, and even monetary policies to steer the economy towards sustainable growth. Madam Speaker, this budget is therefore a budget for economic rebirth. It focuses on economic recovery through job creation, infrastructure development, and support for small businesses. These are not just abstract goals. They are the lifeline of our people, and the people have deliberately awaited. The comprehensive plan of action is built on three pillars: economic renewal, a new social order, and a fiscal consolidation. The Honorable Prime Minister has paved the way for economic renewal through shaping innovative Mauritius initiative. The new economic model is based on 6 streams: research and development and innovation, resource repurposing for higher productivity, transformative investments, updated trade strategies, smart investment in productive infrastructure, a focus on consumer well-being. This is a sharp departure from the previous government's superficial growth model, which relied on inflated statistics and short-term fixed. The new approach is grounded in reality and aims for sustainable, inclusive development. To this end, Madam Speaker, the budget takes concrete steps to empower women, making the labor market more accessible and supporting women entrepreneurs. The grace period under the Women Entrepreneur Loan Scheme has been increased from 12 to 18 months, and the maximum credit limit raised from the 500,000 rupees to 1.2 million rupees. These are not token gestures, but substantial measures to correct years of neglect and marginalization. Protecting the purchasing power of consumers, especially those with modest income, is another pillar of this budget. The establishment of the 10 billion rupees for price stabilization fund and a series of measures to remove consumers from poverty and direct response to the previous administration failure to address their purchasing power. And to this effect, an amount of 2 billion rupees have been earmarked to this financial year. Madam Speaker, the prioritization of education, healthcare, and youth development sends a powerful message. Our people are not a burden. They are our greatest asset. Investment in people is an investment in the very future that we are trying to rebuild. Significant allowances have been made to enhance the quality of education, including the establishment of a National Education Council and a National Curriculum Advisory Board. A special emphasis has been placed on inclusive education with dedicated funds to integrate SENS students into the mainstream system. These initiatives rectify years of underinvestment and indifference. A cornerstone of this budget is progressive tax reform, aimed at easing the financial burden on citizens. By simplifying the personal income tax system from 11 bands to 3, with the first 500,000 rupees of annual chargeable income being tax-free. Approximately 44,000 individuals are removed from the tax net, and an additional 75,000 middle-income earners receive relief. This approach contrasts sharply with the previous government's regressive tax policies, which disproportionately affected the most vulnerable. Madam Speaker, while striving for fiscal discipline, this new government balances the need to reduce the budget deficit and national debts with the imperative of protecting the most vulnerable in our society. By maintaining social allowances and lowering taxes for lower, middle, and middle-income groups, we are ensuring that economic reform do not come at the expense of those who need support the most. The future of our economy lies in innovation and sustainability. The budget outlines plans to position Mauritius as a regional hub for higher education, research, and innovation, aiming to double the number of foreign students within 3 years. Madam Speaker, investments in renewable energy and the blue economy further underscore our commitment to sustainable development, priorities that were ignored or underfunded by the previous administration. Strengthening institutional capacity is essential for effective reform implementation. The restructuring of the Economic Development Board and consolidation of the e-licensing platform are steps towards greater transparency, efficiency, and accountability, values that were sorely lacking in the past. Madam Speaker, ministers are expected to provide further details on policies that are within their area of responsibility, and it is with in mind that I now turn to local authorities. The performance of local authorities in Mauritius has been a subject of increasing concern, as revealed in recent audit reports and public surveys, highlighting significant challenges in governance, financial management, and projects management, even in public trust. I was elected in November 2019 elections, and I took part in 5 budget debates as a member of the opposition between June 2020 and June 2024. But this time, I am participating in the budget debates as a minister responsible for the local authorities. In response to the budget presented by the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Navin Chandramulam, from the moment I was appointed as minister, I made it a priority to be out in the field. While it is true that I was the chairperson of the District Council of Rivière-du-Remport and Pamplemousses in the 2005 and 2012, I had to go back into the field, particularly to observe public service locations such as market terminals, playgrounds, among other amenities. I have visited several markets, namely Pamplemousses, Rivière-du-Remport, Roseville, Rivière des Anguilles, Varcois, Chemin-Grenier, Goodlands, among others. And I can say that in most cases, I was not satisfied. Some of the markets don't have even fire certificates. There is a lot of room for improvement. I gave instructions and hope that with the budget allocated to them, the work will be done. Right here, Madam Speaker, I have answered numerous parliamentary questions, especially regarding the management of the municipalities and the district councils. All that I can say, that is, there was a sense of neglect from the different municipalities and district councils. You know the reason of this situation, Madam Speaker? There were councillors who led these councils for 10 years, and at the same point, they became content just holding their positions without truly having the interest of the townspeople at heart. The government elected last November committed to regional democracy, organized municipal elections, and now have the result. All the 5 municipalities are under the control of the Alliance du Changement government. The performance of the local authorities in Mauritius present a complex landscape, while certain councils have excelled in service delivery and innovation, while others have systemic issues such as financial mismanagement, declining public trust, and voters' disengagement persist. Addressing these challenges requires a comprehensive approach, including strict financial oversight, enhanced accountability measures, and reform to empower local governments with greater autonomy and responsiveness to citizens' needs. Madam Speaker, let us not sugarcoat the reality. Local government in Mauritius underwent significant adverse changes with a mouvement socialist militant, that is a MSM-led government. The MSM government postponed municipal elections multiple times, citing the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for local government reforms. The most recent delays was in May 2023, with the result that no municipal elections were held until May 2025. The MSM government centralized authority, reducing the autonomy of local councils. Amendments to the Local Government Act in 2023 were seen as measures to consolidate power at the central level. However, the Alliance du Changement government held municipal elections in May 2025 and won 117 out of 126, thereby confirming citizens' dissatisfaction with the outgoing government. The municipalities and the district councils have faced financial distress and liquidity problems over the years, with some councils facing insolvency. Mr. Pagliacci has created a series of special funds, namely Project Development Fund, Climate and Sustainability Fund, Lotto Fund, National Environment Fund, National Resilience Fund, Poverty Reduction Fund, where billions of rupees had been allocated. The purpose of these funds were purposely to fund inter alia projects of local authorities. Madam Speaker, this fund was set up with the objective to fund projects out of the budget of the line of ministries, but also to put the people as chairperson and members of the board managing this fund. Today, several local authorities are facing financial difficulties to meet contractual obligations. For instance, there are several capital projects which are being funded under the special fund, one of them being the Project Development Fund, and the funds are not available and the contractors are not being paid on time, and the latter are threatening to claim interest on late payments and to sue the local authorities. Madam Speaker, this situation is unwarranted, and if this really happens, then taxpayers' money will be used to pay interest. The Director of Audit's reports over the years have exposed irregular expenditure and stalled development projects. This budget does not hide from this truth. It confronts them. Local authorities face a range of challenges. These issues span administrative, financial, environmental, and social dimensions. Madam Speaker, many local authorities operate with limited funding, affecting their ability to maintain infrastructure and deliver services like waste management and road maintenance. There is a high dependence on the GIA, which reduces local autonomy and flexibility. In fact, over the years, all the municipalities and district councils have been running significant budget deficit. Each year, a midterm review is being carried out to review the finance of the local authorities. Here, let me cite some figures for the financial years. The total deficit faced by the local authorities stood as follows. Year 2021-2022, around 334 million rupees deficit. 2022-2023, 602 million rupees deficit. 2023-2024, around 748 million rupees deficit. And for last year, 2024-2025, 1.2 billion rupees deficit. This is the result of drastic cuts made by the then Minister of Finance, Dr. Padiachi. The purpose of these cuts was to project a balanced budget on paper only, without taking consideration to the contractual commitment of local authorities. Madam Speaker, the funding of the local authorities usually comes from two sources, namely granting aid from the central government and own funds, that is, revenue raised from taxes, trade fees, etc. Local authorities were also faced with a decrease of an average of 60% internally generated revenues over the years. The decrease in internally generated revenue arose namely from abolition or exemption of some rates and fees from local operators, or these fees and rates have been transferred to other local authorities, from other authorities or ministries. The total revenue foregone as a result of these measures amounts to some 580 million rupees on average per year. Also, the GIA provided by the then Ministry of Finance covered part of the revenue foregone. The effect was diluted in the overall GIA in view of changes in legislation, increase in services being provided, servicing and maintenance of continuous addition of assets from other ministries or departments. The expenditure of local authorities have considerably increased over the years from 2021 to 2025 by an average of 18%, while the revenue of the local authorities have decreased during the same lapse of time by an average of 6%. The main causes of the rising expenditure are increase in salaries and related costs. General prices increased on higher contracted services, electricity and water charges. The higher contracted services have hugely increased due to the additional claims with respect to increase in salary costs resulting from the new change in legislation related to minimum wage and salary compensation as from January 2024. The new contract price now being quoted or signed for scavenging services and other contracts like cleaning of toilets, security services have also increased enormously. Other increases in costs related to a general increase in prices, especially in items like electricity charges and material for maintenance of roads and buildings, have caused the overall estimated expenditure to rise greatly. In the year 2024-2025, the then government, in a bid to hide the government deficit, introduced an unfunded item known as efficiency gain in its calculation of the grant formula. This efficiency gain in 2024-2025 was deemed to generate some 585 million rupees for the local authorities. However, this amount never materialized, as the efficiency gain was just a balancing act to hide the budget deficit incurred by the previous government. This efficiency gain never materialized, with the result that there is a shortfall of 1.27 billion rupees, and this has resulted in local authorities facing huge liquidity problems. This government, Madam Speaker, will need to find a fund for meeting these financial gaps faced by the local authorities. Let me be clear, no official, no councillors, no contractors will remain above the law. We will no longer throw money into the leaking pipelines, literally or metaphorically. Madam Speaker, Regional administrations have an important role to play in improving the daily life of villages and townspeople. Whether it is about street lighting, waste collection, or organizing sports or literary events, these district and municipal councils are always present. Certainly, there is room for improvement, and for that, we are counting heavily on a revision of the Local Government Act. Yes, Madam Speaker, this government will propose a new Local Government Act. The previous government posed a lot on this issue. In fact, it deceived the public and found excuses to postpone the municipal elections 3 times, and it did nothing. Madam Speaker, as soon as the new government took office, an interministerial committee was set up under my chairmanship. At our first meeting, we decided that any amendment in the current legislation deserves suggestion and proposal. This is why we asked everyone to submit their proposal. And at the ministry level, these are being compiled, and in the coming weeks, we will decide whether to hire a consultant to work on all these proposals to prepare a plan. I can assure the House that the government is determined to implement a modern Local Government Act after consultation of the next interministerial committee. The time has come to review the Local Government Act 2011. Over a decade has passed, and the realities of governance in Mauritius have evolved. We must ensure our local authorities are modern, autonomous, and efficient. This means strengthening decentralization, enhancing accountability, and empowering our council to respond swiftly to the needs of our citizens. The Act must reflect today's challenges, from digital transformation to urban growth to climate change and citizens' engagement. We need to improve service delivery, representation, and transparency while aligning with the international obligation and sustainable development goal. A review is not just timely, it is necessary. It is our duty to ensure that local democracy remains vibrant, responsive, and future-ready. Madam Speaker, we are equally aware that increased funding must come with increased responsibility. This government remains committed to driving transparency, improving procurement practices, and professionalizing local government. Madam Speaker, I was able to meet all the mayors and their deputies to chart the way forward for the development of our towns and for the betterment of the citizens through a collaborative approach, and I am confident that they will fulfill their roles brilliantly. We will continue working with local authorities to enforce audit recommendations, train councillors and staff, and support localized anti-corruption frameworks. And to this end, my ministry is working with the FCC to devise a code of conduct for local government officers and even for councillors. Madam Speaker, our local councils are doing their best with what they have, but the system is outdated, underfunded, and too far slow to meet the demand of the 21st century. We live in a digital age, yet many local authorities are still running on paper form, legacy software, and outdated process. Residents are forced to queue all hotlines that never pick up, or wait weeks for simple services. It's inefficiency and even worse. It's unfair, Madam Speaker. Nothing has been done by the previous government to facilitate the life of the citizens. Digitalizing local government is not a luxury. It is a necessary. We need online portal where people can pay bills, report problems, and access services with the same ease they order a takeaway. We need real-time data to manage traffic, housing, and public health. But this won't happen without leadership and without proper investment. This government says it supports innovation, yet councils are being told to do more with less. It can't run a 21st century council on a 20th century budget. If we truly believe in leveling up, if we truly believe in empowering local communities, we must fund digital infrastructure, train council staff, and ensure no one is excluded from digital services, especially the elderly and those in deprived areas, such as Panchvati, Shamaril, Kaukalchis, among others. Digitalization of the local authorities will ensure that no one left behind in the socio-economic development of the country. The choice is simple: modernize or fall further behind. We owe our citizens better, and it starts with bringing local government into the digital age. Madam Speaker, the local authorities through poor contract management, project monitoring and project implementation have caused the government to pay more than around 677 Mauritian rupees to contractors in arbitration due to dispute arising during project implementation. In a bid to prevent such occurrence, my ministry is in the process of introducing the e-local government system, wherein the life cycle of each project and each implementation will be closely monitored. It is also noted that in some local authorities there is connivance between officers and suppliers. The local authorities have been requested to enlarge their pools of suppliers to further democratize the economy. By doing so, they will espouse the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister to enable women entrepreneurs to have access to markets. The e-local government system will also ensure transparency and fairness in the procurement system by tracking the different stages of the process. Madam Speaker, presently the local authorities undertake the repairs and maintenance of vehicles by both in-house labor and outsourced. Minor repairs and servicing of vehicles, minor panel beating and electrical works are done by in-house labor, whereas major repairs are outsourced. The average annual cost of repairs amount to 48 million rupees for the local authorities. However, some local authorities do not have a workshop, and in some cases, they do not have the qualified personnel. As a result, several lorries and equipment are lying unrepaired in their yards. In view of the high budget implication and lengthy procedures, my ministry has decided to put in place a centralized mechanical workshop to provide fully equipped and efficient facility for repairs, maintenance, and testing of the mechanical components, equipment, and machinery. Thus, to ensure the operational continuity, there is a need for a proper mechanical workshop. My ministry has requested the Ministry of Housing and Landscape Mauritius Limited to identify a plot of land to an extent of 10 to 15 acres for the setting up of the centralized mechanical workshop, which would be centrally located, for instance, at Côte d'Or or Bellerive, Houghton. With this project, the cost of repairs and maintenance will be reduced considerably, as procurement will be done on a large scale, and we will recruit professionals to work in the mechanical workshop so as we can attend all the repairs on our own. And this will also reduce the length of stay in the workshop, and the impact of grounded vehicles on service delivery will be greatly reduced. By this way, the service will be improved in all local authorities. Madam Speaker, the safety of our citizens remains one of the highest priorities of this government. In this regard, we are committed to modernize our fire and rescue services to meet the evolving challenges of urbanization, climate change, and technological risk. This year, our budget includes dedicated funding for the acquisition of state-of-the-art fire engines, specialized equipment for industrial and high-rise firefighting, and advanced rescue tools. As for the Ministry of the Local Government, the allocated amount is 68.5 million rupees for the purchase of vehicles for the fire and rescue service. We shall also construct a modern fire station and the Mauritius Fire Rescue Service headquarters at Katebon with the assistance of a line of credit from India. We will also invest in training programs to upskill our firefighters in modern techniques, including disaster response, hazardous material handling, and emergency medical care. Furthermore, we are expanding the digital capabilities of our fire services, enabling faster response times through GPS integration, automated dispatch system, and improved communication infrastructure. Through these efforts, we aim to build a fire service that is not only creative but proactive. That one protects life, property, and the environment with efficiency and professionalism. To further enhance public safety, we are placing a strong emphasis on community outreach and rapid response capacity. The actual average response time to attend emergencies by the MFRS is 9 minutes. This is too much, Madam Speaker. The aim is to reduce the response time to 5 minutes, in line with the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA 1710 standard. In view of modernizing its fleet and to increase its operational capabilities, and the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service will be equipped with high technology, state-of-the-art vehicle and equipment to respond to emergencies such as high-rise fire fighting and rescue operations and flooding and other disasters. Madam Speaker, presently there is only one fire station located in Port Louis, which is deemed insufficient to meet the growing demands resulting from rapid development in this region. Significant infrastructural expansion and the emergence of diversified activities in the port area, city centre, Jinfei, Richter, Terre Rouge, and surrounding localities have led to an increase in the number of new structures, including industrial and commercial complexes. To address these emerging challenges, a new fire station will be set up at Jinfei, Richter, on a plot of land measuring approximately 16 acres of land that has already been invested for this purpose. Before I conclude, Madam Speaker, let us be clear. The journey from the abyss will not be easy. Bridges are not built overnight. But with this budget, we are laying a strong foundation, as our Prime Minister said. And more importantly, we are laying it together as government, as private sector, as communities, as citizens. This is not just a budget, this is a blueprint for rebirth. Let us work forward with caution, cautious optimism, bold determination, and collective will. Let us not squander this opportunity to truly rebuild the bridge to the future. From the abyss we have come to prosperity, we now go together. This is a turning point, Madam Speaker, from collapsed service delivery to community dignity, from the abyss of decay to a future of shared prosperity, from broken promises to a bridge that leads all of us forward. Madam Speaker, paragraph 312, to quote our Prime Minister, he said, "We are leading the way out of this mess, not by doing what is easy or popular for government, but what is right for the country." I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Minister. It was very challenging to speak at this time. Honourable Minister Mohammed.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the adjournment of the debates.
The question has to be seconded. Yes, Honourable Minister of Agriculture. The question is that the debate be now adjourned. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Adjournment of the House.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the adjournment of the House to Monday, the 23rd of June at 11:30 a.m.
Seconded by the Deputy Prime Minister, Monday, 23rd of June at 11:30. Okay, the question is that the House be now adjourned to Monday, the 23rd of June, 2025 at 11:30. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned.